From leading a $3 billion sales empire in the pharmaceutical industry to becoming the face of one of the biggest corporate scandals in the history, Alec Burlakoff's story is nothing short of a roller coaster. As a VP of sales at Insys Therapeutics, he built a sales machine that reached massive heights, but it all come crashing down when his action landed him a federal prisons. But where gets fascinating, Alec didn't just fade into obscurity. He took that fall, rebuilt himself from the ground up, and now uses his history to shed light on the dark side of sales, the ethical lines we cross, and the devastating cost of unchecked ambition. This isn't just a story of success and a failure, it's a masterclass of a resilience and integrity and lessons only someone who's walked through the fire can teach. Alec, it's privilege to have you here. How's things going on? How things are going for you these days?
Things are going fairly well or good. They could always be better, but I have no complaints whatsoever. I'm very grateful to be in the place that I'm in. And if you had talked to me a couple of years ago and asked me if I'd be in this headspace right now, I probably would say definitely not. So I'm pleased.
All right, appreciate to you to join us. So, like before we dive into your time at Insys and your sales journey, let's start from the very beginning. Where did you grow up, and what were some of the most defining experience in your childhood that shaped the person you are today?
I grew up in Long Island, New York, in a town called Kings Park, and I was lower middle class. Had a pretty good childhood. Had my mom and dad around. They got divorced after I graduated college, and I would say some of the most defining moments in my life as a kid growing up were, through sports, athletics, specifically basketball, and the competitive nature that exists in the sport itself, but also in my household. It wasn't about basketball; it was about winning, and really at that time, winning at all costs. So that's kind of defined my childhood.
All right, so let's talk about your college years. What was your experience like? And did you always know the pharmaceutical or sales industry was the right fit for you? Were there any specific lessons or experience during that time that guided your career?
So I went to college at Florida State University, undergraduate, and studied psychology, and then went to graduate school, got a master's in social work. Um, as far as knowing pharmaceuticals was going to be something that would fit me well or that I would be successful in, when I went to college, grad school, and even out of grad school, I had no idea I was going to get into pharmaceuticals. A defining moment was I was actually working as a school guidance counselor, monitoring the carpool lane, and we had a no smoking policy on the campus. And one of the fathers was smoking a cigar in a Bentley convertible, and so I went out there and politely asked him if he would put the cigar out. He blew the smoke in my face and said, "Petty rules from petty people." And that was a defining moment for me where I had decided that I wanted to try to take on more leadership opportunities and roles and get more involved in the daily grind or the hustle that takes place in sales on a daily basis.
Okay, so like after college, you made the transition into the pharmaceutical industry. Was there a moment or a series of events that lead you to pursue a sales and leadership? How did you evolve from being a newcomer to eventually becoming the corporate leader in this space?
Well, I mean, I'll just get right to the question at the end there. How do you go from being an entry level salesperson to being a corporate leader? You have to have a undeniable will to be successful. You have to hate losing. You have to despise taking orders or being given rules or regulations or guidelines that you feel if you were to change and go an alternative route, and I'm not talking about an illegal route, but just an alternative route, you just want to be in charge. You want to be the decision maker. So for me, I realized in pharmaceuticals, the only way that I was going to make that happen and become the shot caller was to work hard and be number one in every position that I had ever been given. And that's what happened. I just made sure that I was number one at all levels, and eventually insisted on getting promoted, and got myself promoted to the top, head of sales with Insys Pharmaceuticals.
All right, cool. So, having a work in a pharmaceutical industry for years, what is the most crucial skill someone entering this field should have today? And how have you seen that skills evolve over your career?
I mean, the skill you have to have is the ability to read people. You have to understand what their WIFM is, which stands for what's in it for me. Everyone that you are selling, they all have a WIFM.
Right,
They're all thinking, what's in it for me when you're speaking to them, pitching your product on them, or maybe even pushing your product on them. The only thing they're thinking about is not you, but them. So you got to figure out what it is that they desire and make sure that you can position your sales pitch in a way where it's clear that they're going to benefit in the specific area that they're looking for assistance in, whether that be financial or anything else, camaraderie, whatever that area is that they need assistance in. We got to make sure we figure it out and then address it so that they are happy and feel good about themselves. And only then, when they feel good about themselves based on something that you did, will they take action and do something that you want them to do.
all right. So, sales has changed a lot over the years, especially in the pharmaceutical industry. What significant shift have you observed in the sales process? Now, how do you adapt to stay ahead of the curve?
I mean, the industry has changed in some ways. In other ways, it's exactly the same. But they've definitely gotten stricter on the guidelines as far as entertainment is concerned. Taking doctors out for lavish dinners and so forth, and paying them to speak. It still exists, but on a much smaller scale because there are rules and regulations that are clear and concise that prohibit those activities. So that changes the way business is conducted. In pharmaceuticals, when I was around, it was all about relationships. Now I think it shifted perhaps maybe more to science, the clinical data.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not in the industry anymore, but I can tell you that with the stricter guidelines that get in the way of sales representatives forming true relationships with their physicians, their customers, is going to greatly have a negative impact on their ability to again address the whiffing or the what's in it for me for that person. If you can't have a relationship and a friendship with that person, it's going to be hard to figure out what they need, and even harder to have an opportunity to address their concerns.
Right. So, looking back at your career, which is one mistake you see most newcomers making in pharmaceutical sales. And how can they avoid it? What is the biggest lessons you have learned from your own mistakes?
Well, my mistakes are far different than what a newcomer in pharmaceuticals would experience. Mine are of a completely different magnitude. Um, Caused a lot of damage and death. But mistakes that a newcomer would make would simply be to assume that their customer, in this case a healthcare professional, is really or truly interested in what they have to say. That's the first mistake. They really could care less what you have to say. And if you don't find a way to break through that wall that they've already built against pharmaceutical sales representatives, you're not going to be successful. And the vast majority of people in pharmaceutical sales aren't successful. They're terrible. They fail in every which way. Yet they manage to continue to keep their job and their benefits and their company car and all this good stuff. Um, I work, in a different industry now in sales, commission only, and the guys that I share the sales floor with are some of the most talented salespeople I've ever come across in my life. Far
Right,
more talented than what I'd seen in pharmaceuticals. What you see in pharmaceuticals, quite frankly, is mediocrity. And what I tried to do when I was there as head of sales, I tried to raise the bar and let people know that mediocrity or being average is not acceptable. And you got to find people that share that sentiment if you want to be successful and separate yourself from everybody else.
all right, cool. So you made a significant leap at Insys from starting in entry-level roles to moving into a leadership. What were two key leadership principles or strategies that helped you the transaction successfully?
The key leadership principles is simply trying to know and understand the people that work for you, trying to lead by example, trying to show them that you are not above doing anything that they're doing right now. Simple example, you go with the sales representative and you accompany them on a lunch with a physician, and they've got bags and bags of food that they're bringing in. It doesn't matter what position I'm in, I'm going to help out and grab as many bags as I can. Just little things like that are important. You've got to be a person of the people. And I felt that I was. I had my ear close to the ground, and I had good relationships with the people I worked with, where they would feel comfortable expressing to me if they felt passionate about a specific sales strategy or action or marketing initiative. And so you want to get that feedback from people who have good things to provide you. But if you don't have a relationship with these people and they don't feel comfortable talking to you, you're going to be remiss. You're going to lose out. And that will affect my ability to be the best leader I can be.
Okay, so building a sales team is not easy task. What's your approach to hiring the right people, and what was the most important aspect of developing a winning sales culture?
When it pertains to hiring people that are going to be successful in sales, you got to hire people that either really, really want something, or even better, they desperately need something. Only people that are desperate and want and need very badly are going to be successful in sales, because in sales, we incentivize people by compensating them with more money. If you're not
Right.
motivated by money, you're not going to be driven to be successful at the level in which I'm looking for you to be. Um, Now, your reason for wanting that money varies. It could be a million different reasons. It doesn't really matter. What matters is they have something outside of what takes place in the company that's driving them. So I don't need to get up on stage and give this rah rah speech to my people to get them motivated to do something. I hired people that are already motivated by something that's going on outside in their personal life. And you can't hire any better than that. That's, in my opinion, the best way to hire, and I'll continue to hire that way my whole life.
All right. So, leadership often comes with a tough decision. So, can you share one of the hardest leadership decisions you had to make, and what did it teach about your responsibility, risk, and corporate culture?
I mean, the hardest decision that any sales leader can make is terminating someone's employment with the company. Again, if you're a person or a leader of the people, then you care about your people. And if you have to let someone go due to lack of sales performance, it's difficult. So that's always going to be the hardest thing for me. Everything else is easy. The day-to-day grind of business, that's not hard. But terminating someone's employment, that's hard. And it's changed me in the way where now, where I'm at a different point in my career, I have a greater appreciation for what it means to be employed, just to have a job, how important it is just to have a job, much less, make six figures or seven figures. Um, so I see things on a completely different level now at this point in my career. And I find value in salespeople where I would have never thought I would find it. For example, in what I do now, working on a sales floor, in-house sales, phone sales, these are truly talented, driven people um, who, if I put in the pharmaceutical industry, they would have all been, top performers, way, way above what I had seen working for me in my career for the most part. I had a few great ones, maybe 10 in 20 years in pharmaceuticals. Maybe I've come across 10 people that can actually really sell. That's not a very high number. Fortunately, though, I was able to have all of those people work for me at Insys.
All right. So, as a veteran in the pharmaceutical industry, how do you force innovation shaping the future of sales in this sector? And what emerging trend or technology do you think will be displayed in this industry in the next 5 years?
I mean, listen, artificial intelligence is taking over, but I'm old school. I don't think there's ever a better way to close a deal and find an agreement that's mutually beneficial for both the customer and salesperson. The best way to do that is in person, face to face, over a meal. And nothing's going to change my mind about that. All the AI in the world is not going to change my mind about that. Now, should we use it? Absolutely. Do I use it now? I do. But in the end of the day, if you truly want to put together a deal of true significance, it's going to have to be done face to face, in my opinion. Now, you can close a deal without going face to face with someone, but will you close that deal for the same dollar amount that you would have if you had seen that person face to face? Same deal, same decision to move forward, but different amount of money on the other end because you took You took shortcuts, and I'm not about taking shortcuts.
Okay. So, with the rise of digital tools, how do you think technology will change the relationship between pharmaceutical salespeople and healthcare providers? What digital transformation do you see being most impactful?
I mean, it's going to take away from the interaction between the sales rep and the physician. I don't even know if there'll be sales rep positions 10 years from now. You know, people don't care about trying to put together a business relationship that's mutually beneficial based on truth, trust, understanding, loyalty. These intangibles that are so important in sales are being replaced by AI. It is what it is. It's never going to work for me. I'm never going to leave money on the table and letting someone else do my job for me and closing that deal for me is only going to cost me money in the end. So I'm always going to get my hands dirty and get in the sandbox and tear it up, do what I got to do to make sure that the most significant ROI is there, return on investment.
All right. So, artificial intelligence is transforming many industry. What role do you think AI will play in pharmaceutical sales, and how do you see it reshaping the entire sales process?
Like I said, it's going to change. The interaction is not going to be there anymore. You're not going to have pharmaceutical reps walking into doctors' offices. It's all going to be done via AI. That's my prediction. It's not even a bold prediction. It's going to happen. And in the end of the day, quite frankly, it might benefit the patients more than anybody else because doctors being influenced to write prescriptions based on their relationship with a pharmaceutical sales representative should not be part of a decision making process for a doctor prescribing a medication. So, I'm not in the industry anymore. I played the game the best way I knew how when I was in the industry. I'm glad I'm not in it anymore. If it was conducted in the way where I used to work there, I wouldn't want to work there. And if it's conducted in the new way where it's going with AI replacing sales reps, I wouldn't want to work there. So, I have my time. I'm happy to be done with that chapter in my life. And, I move forward with the same philosophies I've always had, which is AI can potentially help me in some ways, shape or another, but then it's never going to replace me.
All right, so let's talk about you have written two books. It's Selling Hard Lessons Learned and Prepare What the Defendants Need to Know. What inspired you to write these books, and how did your career experience shape the message you wanted to share?
Uh, I was inspired to write just because I had a lot in my head, and I found myself just writing without even thinking about it. So I just kept writing and writing and writing, and the next thing you know, it seemed as if I had a chapter. And then I wrote some more and thought some more, and next thing you know, I had another chapter. And then I had to figure out which order I would put those chapters and so forth and so on. But anybody who is the type of person that thinks a lot is gonna benefit from writing. Taking those thoughts, putting them on paper, memorializing those thoughts is a very productive way in which to live your life, in my opinion. So I continue to do that, and I would recommend it to anybody else. I think it's very important for a plethora of reasons
Right.
to get your thoughts on paper. Uh,
So, Has writing and sharing your insights through books impacted your career, or do you feel that your authorship and influence how people view as you leader in the pharmaceutical industry?
I mean, it's definitely made some changes and had effects on my career. I think it just adds some credibility to who you are. But forget about credibility. More important, if people are interested in who you are and want to hear what you have to say, it may not be feasible or realistic to get on the phone with that person, or get on like a Zoom meeting or something like that. But they can pick up a book and they can sit down at their leisure, on their own time and read about the way I went about getting sales, the way I went about living my life, the way about um, how my childhood shaped my desire to be successful. So people can just learn, not from me, because I don't consider myself a teacher per se, but they can learn about me. And I think a lot of people have expressed that they were interested, and many could relate to a lot of the themes that are in the one book, Selling Hard Lessons Learned. There are reoccurring themes, and many people have expressed their their propensity to relate to what I had to say.
All right, so could you leave a piece of advice to a 20-year-old who want to start a business, and in which related sector, in which related industry he should go on, like futuristic industry, and what is the future?
Those are tough questions. I can only tell you that I would say if you're going to start anything, you got to be passionate about it. You got to live, eat, and breathe it. You got to be obsessed with it, because if you're not, you're going to fail. Um, there's just too many things going against you, too many things working against you, that will lead you towards failure. The only way to be successful is to never quit. And so if you go into it knowing that every day is going to feel like a failure for a very long time, and you have the mentality that you're going to continue to move forward anyway, then and only then do you have a chance of being successful in that new venture. As far as future industries or whatnot to get into, I don't, I wouldn't provide advice there, you know, but I can tell you from my own personal feeling, it doesn't matter. If you're a salesman, you're a salesman, and it doesn't matter what product you're given, you're going to sell it. And there are a lot of people out there that say that they can only sell something that they truly believe in. Well, that's good for them, but a true salesman is a chameleon, and they can change colors, and they can sell anything that's put in their hands, because it's the same formula. It's the same step by step process. It's the same psychology in every cell. It's universal, and you either have it or you don't. Can't teach it.
All right. So, Alec, as you look to the future, both of your career and personal growth, what's the next for you? And how do you plan to leverage your leadership experience, the lessons from your books, and insights gained throughout your career and create new opportunities and leave a lasting impact?
I don't. I don't plan too far ahead anymore. I've been through too much to do that. What I do now is I focus on the here and now and the present, and I give it everything I have, 110%. That's about all I can handle right now, and that's how I plan to live the rest of my life, because You plan too far ahead and you start to put things in your head that may not be realistic, or by the time you get there, you don't even want that anymore. So my recommendation would be to work hard, but do it now, and live in the moment, and don't get caught up in planning too far ahead, because plans are made to be changed. So if they're going to be changed, why make them anyway?
All right. So thank you, Alec, for sharing us such incredible insights with us today. Your journey from your early years to becoming a leader in a pharmaceutical industry is truly inspiring. We appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and offering so much valuable wisdoms on leadership, innovation, and the future of sales. To our listener, we hope you walked away with some actionable key takeaways. And today's conversation, be sure to check out Alex's book, Selling Hard Lessons Learned, and prepare what defendants need to know for even more valuable insights into the world of sales and leadership. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. Stay tuned for more conversation with industry leaders who are shaping the future. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.